Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host Johnny,
Didn't expect that.
and today we've got a full table for Adasi and Ak. How you doing, guys?
A full big table today.
It's a big table, it's a different scenario, different
Bigger
sets.
table.
Yeah, it feels a little different, man. It feels a little weird here.
I feel too far away from you today, Ak.
Yeah, no way.
I'm still in the middle of all of it,
So
so
the-
it's all good.
I feel like there's a far right and a far left over here.
We're in the middle, we're centrist.
We're sitting on the wrong side of the table, but
We're centrist.
Okay, so big week.
Massive,
Yeah, mate.
massive.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest weeks in football in the last 7 years.
seven.
Absolutely.
Did you say 7 or 70?
70 in regards
That's a big
to
call.
the sport itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's merit behind that. A lot's obviously happened, and we're going to obviously touch on everything. A lot of people get taken aback when there's such controversy. I somehow enjoy it. I enjoy the controversy, the upheaval, the shitstorm,
Chaos.
What a shock to everyone.
The chaos.
What a shock.
the continuous updates every day, every hour almost. There was something new coming out, and you had to be constantly on top of it to find out what was changing, what was said, who changed their position, who pulled out. So
And
it's
everyone
very
got involved.
exciting.
Everyone literally got involved too. With this. Even
Yeah.
governments and shit.
Very,
So-
very exciting. For me,
So
that's exciting.
obviously we're talking about the Super League, the famous, the one and only, the Super League.
Yes.
Paris' Super League.
Perez's baby.
He's the leader.
Florentino Perez.
He's the leader.
Leader.
No, leader.
So, it's been such a crazy couple of days because from Sunday to Wednesday, it went up and down and everywhere. What do you guys think about the whole Super League concept? What do you guys think about what happened the past week? How people reacted? Is it what you expected after you heard the news? How much involvement there was from external, like you're saying, external companies like the Pope spoke about it, the Prime Minister spoke about it, the royal family
Yeah.
spoke about it.
Yeah.
So, are you guys...
Honestly, Johnny, it's like I think you're right when you said it's probably one of the biggest things to have happened in football, especially for successful. I don't think since the inception of the European Cup would this have had that as dramatic of an impact. It's unbelievable. To be honest, like I was completely in shock at the proposal. I was in shock at how they proposed, and at the same time, I was in shock of the reaction. The reaction was visceral, from the fans, from the media. This was like as if we cancelled football tomorrow.
Yes, as if football was going to die. Yeah, as I was going to
Yeah,
say.
people were all saying, rest in peace to football and their clubs, and people were burning flags, and it was crazy.
It just all
crazy.
happened spontaneously. When you wake up Monday or Sunday, whatever it was.
I mean, the announcement was spontaneous, but this has been brewing for a few years
It has been, and one of the things to see is that it's been going on for a number of years, and the Champions League came about in 92, 93, and then since it came out as a rebranded competition, renamed as the UEFA Champions League, it's just expanded continuously from 8 teams to 16 to 24 for a couple of years, then to 32, and then even then it had the top countries and top nations demanding guaranteed spots as well. So there was always those demands that these nations wanted, and UEFA trying to meet those concessions and cater to them. And then this was just, it's been happening as well. This was just
Absolutely.
out of the blue.
Originally, the inception of the European Cup was the winners of the domestic league were to compete only.
Yeah, and then that's just been taken out to have other clubs.
Yeah, and then it became the stronger leagues ended up getting additional spots.
Yeah.
At one point, I recall the time when the English Premier League went from 3 spots to 4. They were
Yes.
given an extra spot. And then at some stage, if I'm not mistaken, they almost even had the 5th was almost a qualifying spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had to play a qualifier.
Well,
I don't know if that still exists.
Syria lost their 4th spot.
That's right,
Yeah.
but depending on how well the teams performed, so there was like a performance index and how they performed in Europe, and they would get points. So obviously English clubs were always there or thereabouts, so they would constantly get spots. Obviously there would have been some money involved in the background.
And then UEFA
But-
did this guarantee that Italy, England, Spain, and Germany would get 4 spots, not only just 4 spots, but 4 guaranteed spots in the group stage as well. So that's happened in the last.
Oh, so
4
they
or
don't have
5
to go
years.
through qualifying.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
the top 2 go through directly, and then the 3 and 4 would go qualifying.
Just
So
to touch quickly, sorry, on the point where you said, it took everyone by surprise, and you mentioned that it's been brewing a little bit. I'm one of those people that wasn't surprised when it was announced.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't surprised at the concept. I was surprised at the timing of it.
What do you mean
Because
by the timing though? Like,
Because there was a lot of talk about changing the format of the Champions League.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt like that was a rebuttal, or sort of saying, well, then sort of fuck you, because we don't like that.
yeah.
So if that's how it's going to be, well, we're going to show you our plans now. And that's sort
At
of
the
what
same
happened.
time, when was the Real Madrid elections?
a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
and then he went uncontested, and Perez got elected again.
So it's like a,
I don't know if it
like
has anything
ultimate
to-
power, and he went
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the election timing, but it was the timing of the rebranding or the reformat of the Champions League is very curious.
Very coincidental.
Um,
Surely.
I mean, the head of UEFA, Alexander Cheferin, was quite upset because the whole concept was on Friday last week.
They were going to do the proposal, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the date was. I believe it was the 17th. The idea was they had agreed to it. And Cheferin, who is like related to Andrea Agnelli, Juventus's president, on Friday, Agnelli was, yep, we're all good. We're locked into the new format. And then, like 2 hours
48
later,
hours later.
like 3 hours later,
Oh, really?
he turned off his phone.
Yeah.
For the next 24 hours, 48 hours, he couldn't reach him because
Wow.
for whatever reason, I don't know why, but these 12 clubs or the drivers of this competition, which has been accused to be Real Madrid, Juventus, Liverpool, and Manchester United, or at least like the 4 owners / presidents of
Yeah.
those 4 clubs, there was something about this new format that they were not happy with. Johnny, you said that it's been brewing for the last couple of years, but the way they released this, it doesn't feel like it.
Well,
It honestly
Perez-
feel very...
Perez, not long yesterday, I think it was, said they've been talking about it for 3 years.
Yeah, but the way they released it was slapped together.
Do you-
But hang
It
on
was
a
in
second.
midnight of
Do you-
Europe.
It's more than 3 years. And
It's been,
I'll
because
tell
there
you-
used to be G14. Remember?
That's exactly right. I was exactly going to touch on that point.
yeah.
And specifically, Arsene Wenger had spoken about this a very, very long time ago, and that G14, which is the 14 biggest clubs in Europe, that always had this, group, and they always dealt with each other and had meetings and whatnot, and it obviously discussed the game, but it was all about money at the end of the day. So Arsene Wenger's thing, I went back, and someone actually posted it. I went back and researched it because he'd spoken about it a long time ago.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure exactly. I guesstimated about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I recalled it was almost 10 years ago. But when I looked at the article, and his quote about it was 2009.
Yeah.
So it was almost 12 years.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no. But the
Where
point is...
he said that there's going to be a formation of an elite league or something
Yeah.
along those lines, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be like this. And there it is. So the concept was always there. And I
Yeah.
guess maybe the past few years, things have been happening, or there's been rumblings, behind the scenes where people have thought, nah, we're not happy with what's happening. We're not happy with the money that we're getting. We're not happy with the prize money or the distribution of it, or
Yeah.
UEFA's
That's
taking
part
too
of
much
it,
of a cut, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this could have been the last straw when they knew that the new format was going to come in. They thought, you know
For
what,
whatever reason,
we're
they were
going to
not
pull the
happy with
trigger too.
So,
Oh.
so to get to the bottom of it, the why is money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think there's
And
any other
Perez,
reason.
he did a couple of interviews since Super League news happened, and he kept emphasising the point that these clubs are suffering financially, given the pandemic being one reason. But he also feels that football needs a shake-up, and that UEFA's not giving him the
Fuck, he's not wrong.
like
There's
the
a
reward,
shake-up.
the reward that the revenue that they deserve for.
I've got a couple of Perez's quotes here that we'll get into in a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
can't
he
wait
said a
for
few
these.
actually. He said a
Don't
few
mention
caucus.
the 18 to
Do you think-
24-year-old quote.
Do you think?
Six
Do you
times.
think? Do you think Adasi knows the quotes like he knows the results of the '98 World Cup?
He's probably not read it, mate.
No,
it's too
no.
upsetting. It's too
I
upsetting.
did read a lot of his interviews, and my God, some of the things he said were like, "Whoa, what was that about?"
Adasi, this past week, he's been conflicted in his
It is like
identity.
honestly, I feel like I'm in the middle. I don't know where to go. This way or that way. It was,
He's like Bart and Hugo. He's like,
Wow.
it was crazy few days. It was crazy.
so the why, the money. Now, there's a concept of, okay, the big clubs want more money. Then there's the other view of, you are the richest clubs in the world.
Yeah.
So if you want more money, what's left for the rest?
100%.
And the whole thing about
Very socialist ideology, Johnny.
no, but if you care about the sport, I'm not saying these guys care about the sport because obviously they don't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the overarching, in this case, FIFA, UEFA,
Yeah.
they introduced financial fair play fair as it is.
That turned out to be a joke.
Garbage.
But yeah, like the whole idea is if you don't know how to manage the funds that you have well, could this mean as well? And Neymar changed a little bit the concept of values on players with his 220. Could this be the fact that we're getting to a point, just like the real estate market has a bubble and it comes down and regulates itself and adjusts to what the real value is? The fact that the club's spending so much money on players and transfers and wages, doesn't need to be an adjustment to bring these prices down to the real value of what this plays and what the sport really requires. Instead of asking for more money, I think the adjustment needs to happen on the other end.
I think it's too late for that. I think it's too late. It's too far gone. We're never going to get to a point where it goes back and you'll be like, well, Neymar now is worth $30 million in real money. It's not going to happen. We're not going to go that far
The only
back.
ways up.
That
But
adjustment's
maybe
not
not
going to
that far
occur.
back, but all Johnny's saying is some kind of equalizing. And the market, like any market, does tend to restabilize after years of growth. And if it is a bubble, then when that bubble bursts, then the value does come down. And I would argue it has, because I don't think people would spend 220 on Neymar or even Mbappe. Like, people are arguing a bit more closer to 150 for Mbappe's value right now. And so like for me, I look at like someone like Erling Haaland, who right now he's worth probably 120, but everyone knows they can get him for 75.
He's
the
not
next
worth
season
that.
off.
Yeah.
But
Not
the
in
point
my
is that
opinion.
they can get him for 75 next season. So the chances are he won't go, because I think clubs are being a little bit more strict with their buying and selling. I think the problem with when it comes to money and how much more money is because for let's say from Real Madrid's perspective, because that they are an elected club where you elect a president and you have these members of the club, you can only spend whatever you make. You can't spend beyond your means.
Like
It's got
Messi.
really strict bylaws, rather than unlike private-owned clubs like Man City, Liverpool, etc. So from Florentino's perspective, I think he's doing it selfishly for Real Madrid. And I think the other clubs are also doing it because, number one, it's money, but man, it's power as well. Like, you could imagine the way the format's worked, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but there's 15 founding members and an extra 5 who would go up and down according to performance, right?
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
With that, you get a lot of power, and that opens up a lot of doors for you.
Yeah.
Well, from like you spoke about timing as well, and the
Yeah.
UEFA Champions League changes. I thought this was a power move, like you're saying. I thought it was a power move in a negotiating move.
To get you able to wake up and
to
here you go,
say-
pay up.
To say, you know what, you don't want to listen to us, we'll show you how important we are.
Yeah.
We'll start our own league, and if that doesn't work out, we'll show you that you can't have a Champions League or domestic leagues without us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because you take those teams away from the domestic leagues and take those teams away from the Champions League,
Yeah, loses
Yeah,
its
it's-
and you
shine.
loses its interest, and that's why.
It loses everything.
And that's why everyone was saying RP football, because there's two concepts. One is the fact that domestic leagues aren't a special anymore. Champions
Yep.
League is not a special anymore. But at the same time, the Super League, after 3 years, wouldn't be a special anymore.
Yeah.
Because
The
if
same
you,
teams
if you
playing
have
each
the
other.
same teams playing each other and these big clashes happening every week, it loses its shine.
It's kind of the you can't live with them but can't live without them. They both need each other to
That's
make
right.
it work. So
They clearly do.
yeah, so that's really the case, and it was a game of cat and mouse. And it was funny that when UEFA president came out and FIFA came out and started saying whatever they were saying, then you're going to be banned from playing this or playing that. It looked like everyone was just saying, well, I'm going to impose as many rules as I can on you, and it was just who can one up the other person, and that's it looked like a fucking game.
There was so
It
much
looked like
stuff
a game.
going
It
from
looked
both
ridiculous.
sides. You do this,
Yeah.
you're going to get banned from this and
But
that.
the irony is that happened. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is ridiculous! You're killing football, blah blah blah." And inadvertently, UEFA and FIFA, who everyone was opposed, and spoke about how corrupt they were. Don't forget Sepp Blatter's still in jail and had his jail term extended for for the corruption that he had in FIFA, the corrupt World Cup bids, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we can't lose this because this is so corrupt now. Hang on a second, it's both shit.
Yeah.
It's just it's the lesser of two evils.
But that's why I keep going back to, regardless of how long they've planned this Super League, the way they announced it was awful. It was amateurish. It made UEFA and FIFA look like the angels in the situation, and we've known them for years to not be.
No.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the sympathy was for UEFA because they did it so awful. There was no PR campaign. There was very little explanation on how this was going to run. For example, the best example in terms of how unclear everything was so if no one's relegated, based on
Founding
season
members.
performances. Yeah, if the 15 are not relegated, so how are the other five, going to be relegated?
So it's
What was it based on?
invitational. So it's 5 invitational per season.
Yeah.
So even if you win the Super League,
Yeah, you
as,
might
a, as an
not get
invitation,
that.
you want to play
guaranteed.
the.
Like that's what I was like. How does that work?
But when someone made a good point, I think it was Guardiola, I'm not sure, and he mentioned something like, it doesn't make the concept doesn't make sense to you because someone like a club like Ajax, who's very successful, doesn't even get invited to this. So how does it work? What's the criteria? So obviously it's money. And just to touch on the financial...
Sorry, Perez mentioned that. They spoke about social media followers. They spoke
Social media.
Yeah, they spoke about financial situation of
How
the
many
club.
followers on TikTok?
I don't know.
Means you get into the Super League. How retarded. But just to touch on the financial thing that you mentioned, I had a point about that as well. Maybe I'm wrong, correct me, but I recall, early 2000s, especially in the Premier League, there was a lot of, when financial fair play came in and all that sort of stuff, before the Man Cities and whatnot, clubs lived within their means, right?
Yeah.
And before the owners came in, before the Americans came in, the Glazers,
Abramovich.
United, and who the fuck is that? Liverpool,
John Henry.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, some other American fuckers. The point is, before that, clubs generated that money and then bought players and lived within their means. Wenger did it at Arsenal for a very long time.
Yeah.
Got Arsenal out of debt, managed to get the stadium, got everything sorted. Now, I'm using us as a basket case, $120 billion in debt, lay off staff because of COVID, can't afford to do anything. How? You are the most financially stable club in England, almost, with no... before Kroenke came in, another fucking American, right? Very financially stable. Wenger, who was an economics professor, managed to put you in such a position, and this is a perfect example of living beyond your means, living outside your means. And Wenger always touched on that. It was very frustrating as a fan because he never went out and spent, but he got us to the Champions League. We never finished outside the top 4 with Wenger. How?
Yeah.
How?
100%.
So he epitomised that. But everything that he spoke of now came to fruition because now, as he said, it's inflated. It's just become a bubble. Things are stupid. Man City comes in, Abramovich comes in, all the money starts coming. Now it's gone to a point where it's ridiculous. If Chelsea want to sign someone, Man City's in the market, you're going to be spending stupid money if you're both competing for that player.
There's very few clubs that
like,
can compete now in terms of
that's
transfer
right.
prices.
It's very, very, very few clubs that compete.
Yeah.
As soon as there's a new player, a new young player, there's only going to be 4 clubs in the world that can get him. It's either going to be Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, maybe Chelsea, PSG.
PSG,
Yeah, one thing
Who else?
why Real Madrid can get players to come there is the prestige appeal, but the history of the club.
Yeah.
But other than that, financially, Man City and PSG have the advantage.
But who
in that
else?
sense.
Who else? Before, it used to be what other clubs could offer, Arsenal's, Liverpool's, other lucrative clubs,
AC Milan,
Milan's, in Italy.
Inter had a big,
it made it
draw
exciting in the transfer market. Now you've narrowed it down to 4 or 5 clubs that have the
Yeah.
money.
Well,
who
ex-
buys it.
example-
it becomes a numbers game.
Yeah.
Example is last transfer window when Messi was in the market. You were down to 2, PSG on
Yeah.
City,
Yeah.
PSG on
That was
City.
it. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
Because who's going
Realistically,
to pay those wages
realistically, anyway.
and pay the release clause at whatever ridiculous amount it was. So,
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And like you touched on, sometimes players will go into clubs based more on prestige or style of play. I could imagine
that's
Arsenal.
dead though. That died. That died a
died.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was sad because a player would go there because say, "I want to go to this club because I want
They
to
wanna
play
play
under
with
this.
Wenger, for
I
example,
want to play
yeah,
under
100%,
Ferguson,
yeah.
for
Even
example.
people
I
wanna
want to
play
play.
under Mourinho as well.
That's right. I want to play under whatever it was. I want to go to Liverpool to play under Klopp. Now it's who's going to pay me the most money,
That's it.
and that's a consequence of this. Now this is what's happened.
So let's go through Australian time, a bit of a timeline, day by day what we lived in the last 6 days.
Okay.
We woke up Sunday morning to the news. Is that right? Sunday morning?
Monday morning?
I think it was
I don't-
Sunday or Monday.
I think it was
don't recall.
Sunday. Of the Super League being announced.
Yeah.
Now, the format of this league, we just touched on, 12 founding clubs. What were the clubs?
Man United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham.
6 English,
Yep.
yes?
And then 3 Spanish, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid.
Yep.
And 3 Italian, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan.
So there are 12 founding clubs. 3 more were to be announced. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was rumoured to have been Bayern Munich, Dortmund and PSG favourites.
But they all turned them down.
Yes, but I thought Bayern and Dortmund, given Germans tend to be like. They're very conservative. They play it safe. They see how it's pan out. Then they'll want a spot. And see how it's spot. That's how I thought.
But the Germans
I like that.
publicly said no.
They did come out and say no.
Yeah,
They did.
and the Germans have this system. I don't know if every club's got it. They're 50+1.
Not all of them. So it's most
Okay.
of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
So
Which
Leipzig-
is a fan ownership model.
Yeah.
Whereas members bind and own, part of the club,
Yeah.
which is
I mean, this whole Super League concept, you've got to fuck up real bad. First of all, to make FIFA and UEFA the good guys, and to make them look good.
yeah.
And second, to make PSG not money hungry.
Well,
Make PSG the good guy here and not make them look money
the
hungry.
whole thing was just poorly executed. Honestly, like the concept. He's got that idea of having this Super League elite club competition, but the way it was presented,
But it's
very
no
amateurish.
different. But how different? Like, you have the Champions League already. I don't understand. Like, okay, what clubs are you going to eliminate? Shakhtar Donetsk and fucking Kiev and
Honestly,
the Zagrebs
the
of this
difference
world.
was the key difference was number one, they could never be relegated from this. So no matter
But
what they finished in the league, and then by just merely competing, they got 150 million euros.
It's the
which is
money.
far- which
It's
is
not
far
about the
more than what
relegation,
you
but
get
let,
for the Champions
but let me
League.
ask you, it's not about the relegation because
It is.
no, but hang on, it's not about we want to make sure that we don't get relegated from the Champions League ever because someone like Real Madrid's never not going to make the Champions League. Let's be honest here. You have a better chance of fucking being struck by lightning twice in the same week than Real Madrid not qualifying.
Yeah,
for
but
the
the
Champions
Tottenham's
League.
and Liverpool's.
Yeah.
And
That's
also
fine.
like regardless,
And
because I
makes
know
sense.
I see where you're coming from,
But
buddy.
it's money. They don't want to
no.
play in that competition. They don't give a fuck.
But I see where you're coming from. But the idea is okay. So for someone like Tottenham or Arsenal, merely competing and that kind of money would be really effective, really good
Absolutely,
for them, right?
absolutely,
For Real
that's the money.
Madrid, Florentino Perez looks at it as if we win, because the winners were to get apparently something like €500 million.
Yeah.
Well, just
It's
as
huge
founding
amounts.
clubs, just to compete, I think they got $425 million.
Yeah, as
dollars.
founding clubs to
And-
start
and
off.
And
Crazy.
you put that money to clubs, let's be like Barcelona at this stage, we've got the Italian clubs, they're looking at that, wow, this is a great financial opportunity.
This
for
would
us.
have transformed AC Milan and Inter. And the thing is, Inter really need it because unfortunately they are really struggling with money right now. Their financials are really awful. Their Chinese-owned companies that own Inter are really struggling. So Inter would have been desperate for this. AC Milan, who is owned by like the Elliott Group, like another American consortium, they're doing all right financially. They're not in debt as much or anything like that, but it would have transformed those two clubs and even Juventus.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone with a $500 million injection will be
Yeah.
okay. So the original idea of the Super League was to play midweek. So Tuesday, Wednesday games.
Yeah.
What about Champions League?
Essentially replace Champions League.
Replace so these clubs would not
Yeah.
compete in the Champions League and still be part of the domestic leagues. That's what they wanted coming in. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to have our own league, but still compete in the domestic league.
Yeah.
And people were talking about, okay, if they're playing the Super League midweek and the domestic league on the weekend, they're going to rest their players on the weekend domestically, which will affect viewership in the domestic leagues.
Yeah.
But then I think to myself, they kind of do that still at the moment when there's a midweek game in the Champions League.
It depends on the
And
game.
it depends, yeah.
But they still give importance to the domestic league.
They
Of
will,
course,
they do.
because-
Pretty,
don't
pretty
know.
much what they said was we are not giving importance to the...
Because you're gonna compete where the money is. That's the point.
And well, you're going to compete where the money is, and because you couldn't be relegated from the Super League, then you don't care what place you come in the league. In the domestic league, you don't care. You could come 10th.
Yeah, you
You
still
could
make,
come-
you still
you
make
could
it.
just avoid relegation.
You'd still make
You'd
it. That's-
still
that's
be
the
in the
issue.
Super League.
Yeah.
So when this was announced, there was 2 groups of 10 that was meant to happen. It's going to be a draw.
Yes.
Got 20 teams, 2 groups of 10. Top 4 from each group play quarterfinals, or
Top 3, I think, in each group
was it
go through, and then the 4th and 5th play off.
something like that?
Did you
Okay,
look at
yeah,
Super
yeah.
Leagues for me? Yes.
Yeah. And then 2-leg quarterfinals, and then
Yep.
a final to be played in May.
Yeah.
Got a neutral venue.
Same as Champions League.
So similar
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
Champions
Same
League.
time as the Champions League.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They pretty much
We've been on the
said
same night.
In
pretty much
effect,
told
the
the Champions
Champions League
League to
would
get
have
fucked.
become the Europa League very much, and then the Europa League would
much.
become redundant.
The Europa League would have been the UEFA Nations League.
Nations League.
So Bayern Munich and Dortmund did publicly refuse.
They
Yep.
did.
PSG I haven't heard anything from them. I know they were silent. I mean, on Sunday when it was announced, the German clubs publicly straight away said no, but PSG I haven't heard much from them and their stance. Have you guys?
Not
I don't
really.
recall. There's been so much happening.
that's true.
Yeah, that's
Every
But-
like those last few days, like between Monday and Wednesday, every hour to 2 hours there was something new. There was something that came
And
out.
there's been a lot of disinformation as well, because
Absolutely.
like we were told that the German club, said no, and that PSG apparently said no. Then we heard like we're not sure about PSG. Did they say no? And then Florentino Perez said they weren't invited. So
But then again, I
I
wouldn't be surprised if PSG
The no
got knocking on the door
PSG's club.
because their owner,
We can have one.
Nasser Khelafi's close friends with Perez, so won't be surprised if they come in the comp. If
Who?
Khelafi, the owner of PSG, Qatari guy.
So obviously they did talk. So Perez
They
is
know
full of
that
shit
they-
again.
yeah.
They will eventually. I think he'll come around
Ak,
to
if you don't want any misinformation, stop watching CNN, please.
it. But
So
Oh.
UEFA and FIFA both straight away came out, put out statements against obviously
Those
the
clubs.
league with some harsh threats as well.
yes,
Oh,
one of
100%.
them being that you guys are going to play in this comp. You're not going to play in the Euros or even the World Cup.
That's a big call.
It is.
Very big call, because then they're trying to blackmail, not blackmail, but they're giving the players an ultimatum and saying, well, you better choose. If this is what you want, then you don't get to play in our thing. And players, at the end of the day, yes, money's important, but
They want to
I
play for
would
their
say
country.
most players would want to represent their country.
But at the same time, what you're doing just by the little threat, you're turning fans against the players. If you choose the money over the
yeah,
country,
you're a mercenary. Or,
yeah,
yeah.
get out here.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
a smart move by
Yeah.
FIFA.
Yeah, they played the PR right, but it just looked petulant. It looked like a bunch of kids
Insulting each other.
fighting in a schoolyard. You know,
But
the,
what-
the head of UEFA, head of
But
fucking
what you're
FIFA.
saying, following on after FIFA's threat, Perez came out and said, "We'll make our own World Cup."
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I love that.
The ego,
Was that-
the ego
was
on the
that-
guy.
Yeah,
Was
he
that
did.
quote validated? Is that true quote? Or was that
It
just
is,
made
it
up?
is.
No, that
Relax,
was a true
relax.
quote. I read
Yeah.
it.
It was true.
No, I
Okay.
read it. He said they don't invite us to the World Tournament.
Make
Don't
our own
worry,
tournament.
the players will make our own.
Well,
World
no,
Tournament.
this one was fake. He said if they're not going to take him out of the FIFA game, we'll make our own game.
Come on, Perez.
No, that was fake.
So, what a brilliant-
So Perez
it's
was
crazy.
announced as the head of the Super League.
What an
Chairman.
He's a public figure.
He's the chairman of-
Yeah,
he was the chairman of the board.
Elected.
and the
chairman.
most
The villain.
spokesperson.
the villain. Every evil quote that came out was him. It
Every
just-
every meme
Well, he
that
was
I've
one that
seen.
came out and spoke. Everyone else was using
calm
their
down, bro. Why so
social
upset?
media
No, but it is
accounts
worth-
to put the tweets
Well,
on.
he's the head of the
He
league.
is, he
No,
is.
true, but it is worth saying that Joel Glazer, John W. Henry, Andrea Agnelli, they all disappeared. They all
But hang
ran
on,
and
hang
hid.
on. The Glazers are the puppet masters because they have the money. So Perez, you go and fucking do your work.
No,
man.
No, you're using the president of Real
No,
Madrid
no,
as a
no,
puppet
no.
master to Joel Glazer. Fuck you.
But who has the money? Who has the money?
Dude, Real Madrid is one of the most powerful clubs in the world. They did this as a
Yeah,
partnership.
but they can't do it on their own. They need fucking the money.
Yeah, the money was in.
And I guarantee you, the money came from JP Morgan
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
from
Yeah,
from
they
America.
did.
So it
Yeah.
would have had some
So,
American
okay.
link there.
We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we get there, yes, Glazers disappeared, the Liverpool owners disappeared,
Yeah,
and they're all
100%.
behind it. I don't doubt it one
They're
second.
silent
They're all behind it.
investors.
But Perez made it worse because every day he'll go in the media
Oh,
and
yeah,
talk and
100%.
talk.
What's the thing?
So as much as the other guys went
Whoa, whoa,
quiet,
whoa. Yeah,
he
yeah.
became louder and
So
louder.
this is the problem that
He
we
had
have
guts,
here.
that's for sure.
Because it's like don't make us defend this guy because
We're not defending what he said, but-
really everything he said it sunk
set up,
deeper
it's a
and
setup.
deeper. It looked worse and worse.
Look,
and he wouldn't stop talking after a while.
He threw himself under the bus. I think there's some of the stuff he said. But look,
Dude, that's an understatement when it comes to what he said. It was just, some of the shit made no sense. It was really weak.
It was outlandish.
It was
just
hyperbolic.
you
It was ridiculous.
You could tell he felt let down as well. Give it that. he let down by those guys, the other clubs that
No,
signed
I-
on by this club.
Go give him a hug.
No, no. He's saying I'm saying how he felt. I'm saying how he felt.
You feel bad for him?
How can
No,
you-
like
So
yeah,
This guy became the Satan of football in a week. And you
Worse
feel,
than Sepp Blatter. People
I'm
forgot
saying
that
how
Sepp Blatter
he
even
felt.
existed.
I could tell from his body language in that interview. He
you
was
can
like,
tell from
"Where
his
is
body
everyone?"
language.
I saw it. Like, where is everyone? Where am I?
did
Where are these
you
clubs?
did you send flowers to his house? Or?
So you know him so well that you can read his body language.
saw it.
Adasi.
You could tell,
You
like,
could read in his eyes.
He was
You could
saying
read in his
he was
eyes.
saying stuff that who's advice? Who's talking about like 16 to 24-year-olds losing interest and
He was making up fucking
short
stuff.
games.
That's a
Who's
good
telling
quote.
him in his ear that stuff? Like
That's a
seriously.
good quote.
But you know what was crazy as well?
Like is he making this up?
He was. He
Yeah,
was.
he
to an
was
extent.
making up on the go.
Mate, the thing is Perez has never had a firm grip on reality.
The-
He's so far removed from the common man and from the footballing world that
He
he
has.
gets
Yes.
what he wants.
100%.
And he's so. I mean, and the guy. It is.
I think
important
he
to know-
underestimated the backlash as well.
No, but I
That's
think
100%.
I've got I think something as well. Yes, they underestimated the backlash. specifically the clubs and specifically the English clubs,
Yes.
because as soon as it came out and the fans were going
Livid.
against
They
it,
were
and,
livid.
and
They
it
were
was
crazy.
it started to go crazy. All of a sudden they started to withdraw. Man City withdrew.
Chelsea.
Chelsea withdrew. Arsenal come out with a statement. Oh, we're
sorry.
we've listened to our fans.
They
We're
apologise,
sorry.
they're sorry, yeah.
We're like, hang on a second. How amateurish did that look? Like, if it was that thought through, and you surely would have done all your checks and balances.
Yeah,
it's
I know,
not,
exactly.
It's not you going and fucking up and buying the wrong sandwich from the fucking corner shop. Like, this is a massive fuck up
No,
to
you're
make a step
absolutely
like
right.
this.
And
They
to-
knew they were
to-
getting themselves into when they
if you're
signed that
if you're
contract.
planning this,
If
for
you're
3
planning to
years,
leave your domestic league and join another league, it's not going to happen under the radar. You're not doing a backroom transfer that no one's going to find out about.
yeah.
You know,
So what do you think the clubs thought was going to
I
happen?
think the clubs were so blindsided because of the financial situation they're
By
in
the
due
money.
to COVID. The money came and said, "Yes, we need the money." They looked at how the balance sheet and how important it was to them. Yes, let's do it. They didn't. I don't think they thought it was going to be that bad.
So do you think they assumed that
There's going to be a bit
fans,
of
some fans wouldn't like it, but some fans would be like, yeah, we're one of the powerful clubs.
yes.
We're
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
money.
yeah.
I thought there
Here's
was,
ego.
I thought
expected
they
them to
assumed they would
fandom.
get some negative reaction, but not to this extent. But when they realized how bad it was, and as soon as one person pulled out, another one pulled out, clubs, sorry, then it was like, well, fuck. If these clubs are going to start to pull out, then the whole concept doesn't exist anymore.
All right, let's stay. So far, we're still on Sunday.
Oh,
What a day.
are we?
Yeah.
What you spoke about JP Morgan. Can you tell us about the role they play in all of this?
I don't know specifically, but what I've read is that they were obviously a big investor, $5 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they had, committed to this project. So it would lead me to believe that a lot of the American owners from the English clubs would have a lot of involvement, or would have acted as
Intermediary.
Yeah,
to
whatever.
negotiate all this. Yeah.
they would have negotiated this. They would have brought the parties to the table and
Yeah.
said, yeah, whatever, because obviously there's a lot of money in American sport. We know that. So $5 billion for a corporation like JP Morgan that size is nothing to them.
Yeah.
Not nothing, but it's
No,
it's something
100%.
that they would
I see
invest
where you're
and say
coming
like,
from.
yeah, we can invest that.
Well, one of the
It's crazy.
quotes we saw was that the American owners quite can't understand the concept of relegation.
Because they're used to the American sports, NBA and
Okay,
NFL.
and we spoke about the same thing here in Australia. An investor who come in and buys an A-League license, like the MacArthurs and the Western United that have just come in, and they're talking about introducing relegation to Australia. You invested $20 million. So you're going to tell me that you're going to tell the guy who just put $20 million out of his pocket that next year he can get down to second division?
Yeah.
That's what.
And have no TV exposure and have no TV rights money and
100%,
blah,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
No return on the investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's become, or money to become business. But the problem is, and I think Aaron Neville touched on it really well in his rant, is the football culture as well that they're not seeing, that they're not understanding. It's not just a business. So as fans, and that's what I'm glad everything that happened afterwards, is that the culture was the one that won in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think this issue started further back when foreign ownership was allowed?
Well, this is the end result of that.
Yeah, I mean, if foreign ownership wasn't allowed, because once foreign ownership's allowed, sometimes there are people that don't understand certain things, or you don't understand certain sports. You can't expect, a British owner to go and own, an American franchise, because they don't understand that culture. I understand there's going to be some differences, and I believe that there should be limits on who can do what. There shouldn't be foreign ownership, for example, in English clubs. Right? They ran before that. The leagues were strong. Yes, the amount of money wasn't the same, but their viewership is enormous. So the TV rights money is what was
was massive,
distributed.
yeah.
Sky Sports paid a
Yeah,
massive
it's
amount.
huge,
But
and that's
that's-
why the Premier League was as successful as it
But
was.
you got people like the Premier League, even FIFA, UEFA, Liga, that I feel like they're going to be divided on that, because the money that these guys are bringing into the sport and into the league and raising the marketing, raising the players, raising the profiles is good for their own pockets. But at the same time, don't take over the league. And that's what they've done now. They've tried to do. Don't take over the sport just because you're coming in with money.
Yeah.
But that happened a long time ago, specifically in the Premier League, because since the Premier League detached from the English FA, and they're no longer under the FA, so they're two separate entities. So the Football Association in England is only in charge of the national team and any national team affairs.
And the lower divisions.
Yes, nothing to do with the English Premier League. The English Premier League negotiate their own TV rights. They do their own thing. There's no money that goes to the FA. Whatever's negotiated is distributed between the clubs based on appearances, based on who gets primetime view. If, for example, Man City v Liverpool, they're going to get more money because they've got a primetime Saturday night slot or whatever it is, Saturday day afternoon, whatever it is over there. And that's how it used to happen. Back in the day, it was the Man Uniteds and Arsenals, and then, it was the Chelseas after that. Now it's the Man Cities. So there was sort of a pyramid as to the most successful club got a bigger slice of the pie, but everyone got money. Getting relegated, you lost. That's why it was a battle for survival.
Promotion
because
was a big thing.
Yeah, promotion. Clubs getting promoted to the Premier League were getting 50 and 60 million pounds just for getting promoted. Back in the day, that's a lot of money because that could revamp your whole squad.
And even in the season finishes, the higher you finish, you get more money.
Absolutely.
That's right,
So getting 14th is a big difference.
There's an
getting 15th
incentive.
spot.
There's an incentive, and it's exciting. You get to see there's promotion, relegation, but removing all of that, it might be interesting for a little while, but then you get
the thing
over
is,
it.
that's why it was easy for the English clubs, I feel, to pull out of this Super League quicker than the other clubs, because they've been ahead of the game in terms of financial stability and infrastructure and marketing for quite a while. They jumped in there and they did so well to improve their brand. And La Liga and Serie A have fallen behind in
That's
that
fair.
sense. And
That's a fair comment.
because for years, La Liga have relied on Real Madrid and Barcelona to promote themselves and promote the league in
With them,
general.
yeah.
Now, the last 10 years, La Liga are making efforts to promote the league and making kick-off times to suit the Chinese market, putting former players as ambassadors and doing tours around the world, and they'll even taking around to play in US.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and distributing the TV rights
Yeah,
for La
now
Liga
they-
a little bit more
yeah.
fairly because
Yeah.
Real Madrid and Barcelona got
So,
a huge size of
I
that pie.
appreciate it's good they're making action, but they're too little too late, guys. Come on.
Yeah, Premier League. You're right. Premier League was doing that a
Yeah.
long time ago in terms of tours. Man United used to go and do tours everywhere. Asia, Man United's tour of
You
Asia
ask average-
every year
you
was
ask
enormous.
Average person, they'll know a lot more Premier League clubs, and then you ask them La Liga clubs, Real Madrid, Barcelona. That's it. They'll struggle to. Valencia, Atletico Madrid, maybe.
The early 2000s Man United tour of Asia was always enormous.
Yeah.
And probably the amount of money they made on jersey sales every season
Yeah.
would help them buy fucking her.
And that's what Perez started in 2003 when he took the Real Madrid team on an Asian tour. When Beckham signed, at Beckham, Zidane, Raul,
Yeah.
Figo, Roberto Carlos, the amount of exposure, the amount of financial jackpot they hit with that was amazing.
So that was Monday, the announcement. So Tuesday, wake up, Mourinho sacked.
Yes.
Yeah.
After they drew 2-2 with Everton, and then
There was rumours and versions that he told the players not to back the Super League. There was that version of events. Nothing's confirmed.
Yeah.
No, that was just rumor and innuendo.
I read a couple of tweets and things, and they were talking about whether Mourinho's sacking coincided with
The Super League.
the Super League, whether he had an
Yeah.
involvement, whether he refused to train the players and said, "I'm not training because I don't agree with this," and there was a sort of a revolt, and then something like that.
Yeah.
But I read tweets somewhere. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through here. But apparently that wasn't the case. That he'd already they came to a decision on Friday apparently about Mourinho. Friday their time, which would have been Saturday for us.
Yep.
That he had lost the squad and he'd lost the dressing room and whatnot.
Interesting
They-
timing as well.
They've got a final, don't they?
That's true. League Cup final against Man City.
Question: how long has Mourinho been at Spurs now?
2 seasons.
Yeah, about two. Not even. Yeah,
Mourinho's
2
cycle is 2 years at every club.
No,
After
I get
that
it.
Chelsea period of success, it's all relax. I know you love him, but calm down.
No, I get it. But my
See?
question is the
Doesn't let me
timing.
finish about him.
My question is the timing. Like you said, just
For a
before
cup
the final.
final.
Look, is it an ego battle? Mourinho's won a trophy at every club. You know what? Just in case you're going to win this trophy, we don't want to give that to you. So maybe you got to that point that bad. You got that bad. They say, you know what? We're not going to give this to you. You're gonna get sacked before the final. Apparently, he's sucked the culture of the club. I read somewhere but you know what you're getting yourself into when you buy Mourinho. You're not buying.
Look, I think his time as a top manager, unfortunately, is coming to an end. His time at Real Madrid kind of broke him. He tried so much to do what he wanted at the club, but it just in that last season
So
was a
much politics
disaster.
there for him to do what he
And
wants.
at Chelsea, went to Chelsea, homecoming, back to the club where he made a name for himself and won the Premier League title. But then the year after that, they were mid-table, in the lower half of the table, got sacked, and then got the United job. You know, they thought about he was the successor to Ferguson for so long, didn't work out. You know, took a year off or two, and then, you know, Pochettino gets a sack, and then Mourinho's available. Yeah, you know, worked out a couple of games, good motivator, and then he's just.
I think
his style of play is just not.
His name and his legacy precedes him now. So clubs will know that Mourinho's available. He'll be top of that list.
I've always said he needs a
all the
longer
time.
break from football. And maybe, like I think Johnny mentioned in our group chat before, saying maybe a team like West Ham might be a good move for him, or even national team football.
West Ham's doing well. Fucking hell.
Now, I don't want to focus too much on Mourinho because it's such a big topic.
He's kind of got muddled in with all the Super League news.
Exactly. But then Leeds came out against Liverpool wearing the shirts.
I saw that. So there was a bit controversy there because obviously they came out and had shirts that said, you know, with the Champions League logo and said things like, you know, earned, not whatever, or some
I think
shit.
it said earn it. Something like that.
There's something about it, about you having to earn that.
Yeah.
Klopp took offence to that, even though he opposed the concept of Super League, and he publicly came out and said it in an interview. I think it was post-match as well, or pre-match. He came out and publicly said that
Yeah,
it
he
doesn't.
disagrees
I don't
with
agree
it.
with it and whatever, and it's not right. But he opposed that, you know, shit that they did
Yeah.
with the
protest, he didn't
jerseys,
like what they did.
because apparently those shirts were left in Liverpool dressing room as well,
Suck
so
shit.
that they could wear them. And then they were like, "Well, fuck you. We don't, don't fucking force it down our throat." Pretty much, like, yeah, we don't agree with
But
it.
the same shirts I've seen in La Liga, if I'm not mistaken.
Cadiz wore something like that against Real
Yeah.
Madrid.
Yeah, and other Premier League clubs wore the same shirts as well.
Must have been produced by UEFA then and just given out. So here you go. Everyone, hey boys, whoever didn't make it, here you go. Here's a free tease for everyone.
So
See how much we love you. Free merch.
UEFA, huh? Yeah.
yeah, for the good guys now.
You guys.
And then the fans backlash, obviously, social media, stadiums. They went.
I
Yeah.
lost track of social media, man. It's
I think
it was
Man
going
U,
crazy.
Man U supporters stopped the Man U players from going to the training ground or something. So that
Yes.
was
See, I think that was the biggest surprising thing, and Johnny, you touched on it a little bit ago. It's the fact that I think they were expecting a lot of fan backlash from other clubs, not so much from the clubs that are
club
actually
itself,
in the
yes,
tournament.
correct.
You know, Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans, Man United fans. I think that's where everyone was taken aback because they thought, look, maybe some Man United fans might not be happy with it, but the majority would see the dollar signs, see the opportunities for their club.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most heartwarming thing about it was the fact that when you saw all these fans protesting, they weren't protesting for their club. They were protesting for the other guy's club, for the smaller clubs. They were protesting for football in general.
Wasn't the Chelsea game postponed because
It was delayed.
it was delayed
Yeah,
because
yeah.
and that's
Petr Cech was trying to calm the fans down as well.
yeah because there was-
How many were protesting there?
Without face masks or anything. COVID's gone.
But how many were there?
I don't know. I didn't count.
a lot outside. I
Apparently
saw
it was like
photos.
a couple thousand.
One of the
Florentino said 40.
more than 40, but one of the signs said we still
Did
want to. We still want to
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
One
He
of
said
the-
40 people went to the protest, and you can see the videos where you
No,
can
that's
count
not.
more than 40 in one scene.
But one of the funny signs was, we want our cold nights in Stoke. I'm like, yeah, you can get that. Go to the Championship. That's where they Stoke are at the moment. So.
Wow. The Perez defender.
Wow, fucking hell.
I'm just saying, if they want Stoke, they're in the Championship.
I think Adasi wanted this Super League.
Apparently, yeah.
I was curious.
Oh!
Truth
No,
is,
and you guys as well. No, because if this
Nobody
Super League
was-
happened,
Us? What did we
No,
say?
no,
What did we say?
I saw-
if this Super League happened, you would have subscribed to this and wanted to watch it.
No. I was against it. You asked.
I think you would have been curious.
On Tuesday night,
Wow.
my brother-in-law said he wanted to buy my son a little Barcelona onesie. And I said, I'm done with Barcelona, with Chelsea, with any of those clubs. I don't want to know anything about it. This was Tuesday
It's a
night.
curiosity thing because I don't want to be a hypocrite
I-
saying
I
I'm
was-
watch it. Then
I was
end up
done.
want to see what it's
No,
like.
I
and
didn't
I'm
wanna
paying
watch
for
it.
I don't want to be like that. So
No.
Yeah, but you obviously you were going to watch it out of curiosity to see what
Yeah,
happened.
that's what I'm saying.
But
Oh, here we go too. Now, batting jumping chip, Johnny.
but hang on, please. But are you
please.
going to watch every third or fourth week? You're going to watch Real Madrid Barcelona? It's going to lose its shine.
well, I think I
let's-
might lose
let's-
interest. I might say
let's-
this sucks.
Let's get to that in a second. On Tuesday, Perez came out. This is my favourite.
Here we go.
Perez came out saying the Super League is still going ahead regardless of the fans backlash. 12 clubs have committed to it and it's necessary.
Yeah.
That is a contract with 12 founding clubs.
Yeah, necessary for
and they're
him.
not going to break it, that this league is necessary and it's still going ahead. This was Tuesday.
This
I
is,
love it.
This
He
is
was
what-
a
yeah.
savior, man. He was the Jesus Christ
That's-
of football.
Hero.
He literally said, and the quote was, football will be dead by 2024 if we don't do this. So we're on the clock, guys. We're on the clock.
Catastrophic.
Do you think
The
do you take,
doomsday clock is coming.
do you take those words seriously? And then
What do you mean you take him
Adasi,
seriously? He's saying
do
it.
you? Do you?
Adasi, you have to take him seriously with a quote that 40% of young
Not that
people.
quote, not that
Well, hey, I'm talking.
Yeah, okay, but I know what you
This is your man talking here. This is I'm quoting your man here.
Oh, man.
40% of young people between 15 and 26 have lost interest in
I
football.
don't agree with him.
How do you measure that?
I don't know. I asked that question before. Where did he get this information from? Who's whispering in his ear? I don't know.
Where's he getting the stats from?
Exactly where?
From Adasi,
From the
stat
stat
man. Come on. Nah, see, but that's the thing is like, but you also have to take him seriously when you and all these 12 other clubs are talking about billions of dollars.
And you're the face.
It's a major operation. Whatever you say, you have to take seriously that he really believes it. Oh, but honestly, that's the thing. There was no PR expert involved. There was no marketing
It was
in place.
badly executed.
He did not. He should not have been there taking those questions.
But it was badly executed.
When
The
they,
whole
when they
thing
asked him a few days
was a
later
farce.
and they asked him, do you regret anything about what he goes, I don't regret anything. The only thing that probably wasn't the best was the way we announced.
That's
And
exactly.
we should have explained it better.
It was not explained.
But that's an important point. The PR was terrible because I use the
Even the
example
logo
again
was
of
amateurish.
clubs coming back. Like now, Liverpool's fucking owner had to come out and apologise. Arsenal had to apologise just publicly. I think, we made a mistake. We're sorry. What do you mean we're sorry? Like what? Like we just fucking made a little mistake.
What,
Like,
just move on,
They
just move on.
signed the
Get on with
papers blindfolded.
come on.
Speaking
yeah.
of, I think
Ridiculous.
the Premier League was one that said that if you do end up going to Super League and want to come back, you have to start from 5th division and make your way up. That's a good
I
threat.
don't mind.
I mean, it would have just taken 5 years to get
Yeah,
back
I know,
up.
but it's
Financially, 5 years is massive.
But it also just sounds so silly to these sweeping punishments that they were just trying to out-threaten the other side.
Yeah.
And honestly, I
it
don't
became a
think-
slanging match.
And honestly, whatever UEFA and FIFA said in terms of these threats, I don't think it made much difference. It was the fans of these clubs that really made the difference.
It maybe not much difference to the clubs, but it made the difference to the fans to make them even more angry. Because you don't want your players to not play in the World Cup. Fans
Yeah.
enjoy that.
Yeah,
So that
possibly,
made them even more angry. You don't want your...
That's the thing. We grew up watching the World Cup. It's a tournament we all love. We talk about it on our shows.
So that was smart on their end to get the fans on their side and against this league.
Zlatan had some very interesting things to say, Johnny, about it.
Yeah,
Was that a real quote?
Yeah,
What he said, yeah.
He linked
I
Messi.
posted a few things.
He linked Messi to River Plate though. That was
He's
surely
just using it
come-
as a...
No, but
Why are you getting
no,
upset
like
about
it was double.
It's wrong,
I
you
double
should
checked
know
that. I
better.
saw it from multiple stats. No one said it was fake. And he's not suggesting. He's not linking him like in terms of a thing. But he is saying that these big players have their
make us-
homegrown origin clubs that they could potentially go to. That if they love football
They'll
and
take
they have
action
enough
that way.
money, because playing for your country would be worth more than the 10 million or whatever they get.
Look, there's a couple of things here that just back to Mr. Perez, who's your mate. This was on Tuesday. Perez confirms that all these clubs will not be suspended by the Champions League and Europa League semi-finals. The clubs that are currently in
Yeah.
Champions League.
But
And
that's
he's
actually, yeah.
And he's saying it's 100% impossible.
Yeah, it is. Like that particular thing was not so outrageous because they do have contracts and they have everyone has paid the rights to get into the position.
Yeah, this season was still going to go ahead as it was. The
Yeah, like
semi-finals and the finals.
that was a bullshit thing by Alexander Cheferin. It wasn't. It was an empty threat.
I don't think he said anything about this season. Oh, sorry, he did. He did say
said
that there was a small
they were
small
going to
doubt
cancel. Yeah,
of the Real Madrid Chelsea semi-final.
yeah, and it is impossible.
and then-
You couldn't do it.
And 3 of the 4 was get kicked out because they're part of Super League, and then PSG winning it by default.
Like the Aussie guy, what's his name?
Bradbury. 2002 Winter Olympics.
Is that 02 already? Gee, it's
Yeah.
been 20
But
years.
the other thing that we didn't touch on, Perez mentioned a lot of player movements relating to Real Madrid in those presses. And
Oh, yeah?
I think people missed those.
So
and
that was on Thursday. I've got it here.
oh, was it? No, I had that on Tuesday.
Did you?
Yeah,
Saying buying Mbappe.
I had that on Tuesday.
So on Thursday he did say that he's not going to get Mbappe if there's no Super League.
I think that was his last ditch chance to get Real Madrid fans to buy into the concept.
Yeah.
He also said that Ronaldo's not coming back to Madrid. It
Oh,
doesn't-
he
it
did
doesn't
say that.
make
Is that
sense.
all that talk's coming from Ronaldo's camp?
He talked about he said something along the lines of I love Ramos, but we're in a bad financial situation. Will he leave the club? I didn't say that. Many things can happen. To me, that says we can't afford him. Or it's pretty much putting the onus back on Ramos to make him look bad and saying, well, we can't afford. So if you're going to ask for a lot of wages, you're trying to fuck your own club. So he's trying to I feel like he's trying to turn the fans on Ramos there.
Yeah, he's
Play
trying.
that
He's
sort of
trying to
game.
get out from a PR perspective.
Yeah.
He's trying to paint Real Madrid as financially strapped, as victims, and that they need this Super League. And without it, no Ramos, no Mbappe.
No Haaland.
Yeah, well, like the idea is that
Big names can't.
we couldn't be Real Madrid anymore without the Super League.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, those statements, the Mourinho.
40% of 16 to 24.
What a stat.
How did he get that?
So Tuesday he said, I got a quote here, it's in Spanish, but it says
40% of 80% have decided that there's a 20% chance that they won't watch football anymore.
So on Tuesday, Super League is not dead. On Wednesday, all six English teams
Super
withdraw.
League's dead.
Yeah. They said that they can't leave, it's binding. But
So Tuesday, all English teams withdraw. A few hours later, Atletico, Inter, and AC withdraw.
Yep.
Left with Juve.
And
Barca.
then Juventus, not long after that, withdrew, not because of the backlash or anything like that, but because of the lack of teams. It says the project's not working under this format.
Yep.
So they said, look, we're gonna back off because this is not what we agreed on. We
Yeah.
believe it's necessary, but not like this. So I'm gonna get out of here.
Yep.
It wasn't so much of I'm sorry to the fans. It's more about the project itself.
But they also used it as an opportunity to say, oh, look, we fucked up, we're sorry. Doesn't mean that they're not going to do it
Look,
again.
publicly in the statement, they were one of the only ones that didn't say that. They didn't apologise. There was more like
Who?
Juventus.
Yeah.
They came out to say like we want to, but not like this.
100%, Johnny, because Juventus drove this as much as Perez. Agnelli drove this. When the Super League came out, what did Sheffield say about Andrea Agnelli?
Like I lied so many
He called
times.
him a
He called him a
snake.
snake,
He's
yeah.
never heard someone lie as much.
Yeah.
Turned off his phone. The guy screwed
Sheffield
him
can
over.
please stop. This is the same guy who, since he got elected in 2016, increased his own salary. Even in a freaking pandemic. Give me a break. Come on. Come on. No, seriously. This
So what
guy.
would you say you had personal beef?
No.
It sounds like
You
an
know
Adasi.
But Perez, poor man, look at his body language. Everyone deserves him.
Yeah, but no,
He was on his own.
no.
Agnelli, what a piece of shit.
No, Perez has done said some silly thing, but this Saffron guy's not an angel.
But if you look at Florentino Perez's body language, if you look at it, mate,
So you're not biased at all. You're feeling sorry for Paris and the UEFA guys, and
I'm not feeling sorry for him. I'm just saying how I saw how he spoke.
it sounds like
and,
Adasi.
how he's coming across. He's
It sounds
coming
like-
across as someone that is not. He's not thinking what he's saying sometimes.
Honestly, it does. It sounds as if
He's senile.
if the ESL,
He's 74,
if
right?
this
Fuck,
competition
Joe
went
Biden.
through, I don't think you would have been that upset.
If he wants it.
If the ESL went through, I think you would have been like, oh well, here we go.
I was curious to see if it's going to work. If it doesn't,
Really?
then I'm not
all right,
switching off.
hypothetical.
Fair enough.
I'm switching off.
Hypothetical. Next month, everything gets fixed. 12 teams come back on. The whole league gets announced. It starts in August. How would you feel?
Yeah, but then the teams get kicked out of their domestic leagues and shit goes.
Yeah,
fucking-
how would you feel?
I wouldn't be happy because
All the
at the end of the
threats
day,
that-
because I love the sport and I love Real Madrid as well. But this Super League could affect my affection for the club, my support for the club. It could. It could. I might, watch a few games here and there, but the level of support and commitment that I have to it might dwindle because of this. Because I enjoyed the sport itself at the start.
Starting to sweat Adasi.
No,
You okay,
that's
mate?
true. I'm just telling you, it's a conflicting position.
It
to
also
be in.
kills the spontaneity
It does.
and you know the the enjoyment we get from football because 90 minutes any team can win on that field.
There's no underdogs anymore. There's no.
It's
Yeah.
that gap's getting different and getting harder and harder
I don't
every
know,
year
I-
as we go on.
What
yeah.
did I say before a few weeks ago, Fatty? Football in its modern age is at its most unequal that it's ever been. It is incredibly ridiculous. And honestly, if you stop and think about it for a second, what sport promotes such inequality? I mean, there's no other sport right now that is as unequal as our game, and that's where it's so funny because Perez is talking about our game being in trouble.
He did say there was a salary cap involved. Correct me right? There was going to be a salary cap in the Super League. He did mention something about having a.
You can't talk
salary.
about money and then include it.
I've not
That's
heard
what
that
I
last
did hear about that. I don't know if it's true, Valde. I could be wrong, but
I
I
didn't
did
hear
hear
a
about
salary
that.
cap thing.
So Thursday. This is Thursday. Real Madrid and Barcelona remain only.
Yeah.
They're the only two teams left in the Super League.
Yeah.
Paris,
Play a
Paris,
Classico every week.
Paris has come out and said the Super League is not dead.
It's not, mate. It's not.
All right.
He's living the dream. It's not that.
Now, some other quotes of his were, people want to watch Nadal and Federer every week. They don't want to see Nadal versus number 80. That's his quote. All right. Now,
Wow.
what I have to say to Mr. Perez and Adasi's poster boy
Poster boy, please.
is, yes, people like to watch Nadal and Federer. But if you see the same thing over and over and over and over again, I love to eat pizza, but if I have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, I'm going to be sick of it.
I don't disagree with that because seeing it they play each other twice a year, every year. No, you do get sick of it. You would get sick. I would.
100%.
So you lose the hype, you lose the build-up, you lose everything.
And therefore you lose the viewership, you lose what I believe is the money. Like if you, the less attention you have towards a league, the less marketing you have, the less money is going to come in anyway.
I mean, look, yes and no. Don't get me wrong, I do agree with you. But at the same time, I don't know exactly how much hype it would lose after a context matters so much. Look at like the American sport model is there's no relegation, so the Lakers will verse the Golden State Warriors 4 to 6 times a year, every year kind of thing.
But it's not the same hype as Classical, and there's points on the line, and there's a league on the line, and there's
I
a few
understand,
points
but like where
separating
there's
them.
marketing and where there's merchandise,
Or there's qualification maybe up
and
for
there's
state-
in context,
up for
right? And because there are stakes involved, there might not be too many stakes in terms of relegating, but in terms of winning it, there is stakes involved. When there's merchandise, when there's marketing, you could get the hype going. For me, I didn't really care about that particular angle of it because I was like, well, you're either going to watch it or you're not, regardless of the hype or how you feel, because you're going to buy into it. If you're already watching it, you've already bought into the hype of the whole competition in general. So for me, the more damning issue that I had was how it was going to affect the smaller clubs. How it's going to affect my Parma and Fiorentina.
I don't agree with that point
All right,
because
man. What do you want?
you know
Yes.
why? Because football is the sport with the biggest viewership in the world, right? And that's what we when I say we football fans, and this is what football relies on, is the organic growth. Now, all these other sports that when you talk about the American market, it's all manufactured, right? It's all money. It's all this team's playing this team, and it's all merchandise and promoting and blah blah blah. And they need to push that to make that money. So they need a constant cycle. There's no point getting
the
teams
media
relegated up and
machine is
down and all
24
that.
hours.
It's gotta
Like
be-
ESPN.
There's got to be a Lakers.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
got to be a Golden State Warriors. There's got to be
Yeah.
Knicks.
And
There's
then
gotta
you have
be
the,
these
then you
sort
have
of
the
teams.
sports shows who constantly promote it and discuss
That's
and analyze
But you're
it.
talking
Yeah,
about that constantly,
Okay.
and the same shit.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't see the Premier League or La Liga and all that getting advertised like that because it's organic. The people that go there love that sport.
Yeah.
They don't need to be convinced to go there.
They'll sell
and
out the
buy
stadiums
merchandise because it's the most watched, the most participated. It's the biggest sport in the world.
Fatty, but what you're saying is from a grassroots perspective, and I totally agree. But we're not talking about the grassroots exactly. We're talking about from a global perspective.
But that's what
You
I'm
think
saying,
that the ESL, with all the merchandise and marketing behind it, that you couldn't get millions of people watching from around the world to watch Real Madrid and Barcelona on a quarterfinal?
Well,
At some point,
that's the
at
idea.
ESL?
That's
No,
the
but
idea.
at some point, initially you
100% you will, 100%.
You will, but it won't be the fans that are in your backyard.
You're
Mate,
pretty much
that's
going
the
to get
point.
your North America, your Asia, and your Middle East that are going
That's
to be
right.
one of
And
those.
regardless, like in a couple of seasons, right, it would become normalized. You would get your fans back. You would.
I think Fatty's talking 5 years from now. Like, if Real Madrid and Barcelona play each other in the quarterfinals of a Champions League, it's massive. But if it happens every 5 years, 4 years, it's another game that's going to happen.
Yeah, no,
We'll get
I
them back
get that,
again.
but I don't think it's another game. I said,
I believe that the fans are your own fans, proper fans. I'm not talking about
yeah, fans halfway around the world.
fucking
kind of thing,
Indian
yeah, yeah.
Man United supporters in India,
Well, here in Australia, talking about it, it's
right? I think they're going to lose that. They're going to
the
lose
grassroots, the
core.
community
The fans,
aspect
yeah,
of their
that's
of their
right.
clubs, and you're probably right, and that probably
But
would
that's
really
who's
harm
revolted
it.
now, right? That's who's
That's-
revolted.
yeah,
it wasn't.
100%.
It wasn't the Chinese people who support Real Madrid that revolted.
And you want to
Yeah.
see as well the people in actual Europe, the community over there, the actual fans of Manchester United in Manchester, Real Madrid fans in Madrid, whether they're going to make their voices heard and not go to these games if they're really against it, whether these games aren't going to be sold out because they're totally against this Super League idea,
Well-
and are they going to be priced out anyway? How much are these games going to be priced out?
Well, we don't really know because
Exactly.
right now everything's limited with COVID there, right?
Exactly,
So
well, I'm saying-
COVID can be used as an excuse for
They
anything.
COVID now, but
Well, they use COVID to start the league now.
Yeah,
As an
and,
excuse.
I mean, and also like this is suspended, so everything's hypothetical, right? We don't actually know where this could have gone.
It's factual.
So more quotes from Perez on Thursday.
Not hypothetical.
We are losing kids to PlayStation. We need to make it more interesting.
Look, I don't know who's getting his ear with that stuff. Seriously, I mean,
Why can't you blame him, not someone?
I'm saying, I don't know why he's saying that. I don't know what's going through his mind. I don't know.
Like we said before.
I don't know the guy personally. I don't have him on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
This guy.
Then why are you firing up so much to defend him though? Like, I'm a Real Madrid fan just as much as you.
I know. I'm saying.
And it's like
I'm asking what's making him say this stuff.
Can I ask you a question just so we're clear? After this debacle and after Real Madrid as a logo and as a club, its reputation has gone through the mud.
It has. But regardless of whatever they do, they're going to be damn it. Like,
can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Go.
Should Perez resign?
No.
No.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
So what are you waiting for?
Fuck, I can't fuck up more than this. This is the biggest fuck up we could possibly ever make.
He's the biggest bad guy in football.
Since
Apart from
Sepp
Blatter.
Blatter.
So you think?
But people forgot that Sepp Blatter exists now. No one cares about him.
Ed Woodward, the
Resign.
the CEO of Manchester United.
Only
resigned.
because I don't know who's going to take over the club and.
So you're more
take
worried
it
about the
forward.
club than the actual.
Well,
figure.
from a club perspective, yeah, who's going to? I don't know, but he's done like 20 years. Been at the club 20 years. Had a bit of a break for 3 years.
Yeah.
He's
Look,
he's
don't get me
done
wrong. He's
so
integral.
much.
He's integral to what Real Madrid has accomplished in the last decade. He is the man with the power. And like Johnny was talking about in the last podcast that we were doing, the new Bernabeu is going to have a casino that brings in something close to what you say, Johnny, 150 a
Something
year,
like that,
150 million a year. And I was thinking about it after the podcast. The amount of political connections you need to get a gambling license in a stadium.
Well, he's got a building company.
He's in the building. He's in the building
So
industry.
the amount of
so he
connections
knows.
the guy is Lex Luthor. Let's be honest.
So
He
when-
is all
so-
powerful. He is all powerful.
I read
so
a-
you would love to have him on your side.
I read an article on how he became so powerful and how he got into the money. He was in politics for about 9 years, in late 70s, early 80s. And then he bought up building construction, him and a couple of partners for cheap. Rose the company, made it big. When he got into Real Madrid, he's always been a Real Madrid fan since he was a kid.
Yeah.
When he got into Real Madrid wanted to sell the training grounds they had.
Yes, I did.
But because the zoning wasn't appropriate, they couldn't get rid of him.
100%.
So when he went into power Real Madrid, first thing he did was into the government, changed the zoning area, and made
Sold it off.
And was
$500 million and cleared,
wipe their club's
their
debt
debt.
and cleared Madrid of the debt.
and flushed them with cash to buy Figo, and then use that model to continue with Zidane and etc. And then all before you know, by 2005, Real Madrid were the wealthiest club in the world.
He's a shrewd businessman.
So this is
Yeah, to say the least, mate. To say the least, the
He's
guy
a
has
shrewd
more
businessman.
connections
So this is-
than on this bloody table here.
that's it. So this is this is the mind behind the Super League idea. Is the business side of things, is the money side of things.
And it's worth noting the guy is valued at close to $3 billion on a personal level. So that's why he's very detached from reality right now. He doesn't understand what the common fan wants.
That's right. He never has though.
Yeah, he never has. He's always had a grand vision. And I think this, you know what I think this is, Johnny? This European Super League. I think this is his way of wanting to become the next Santiago Bernabeu. Because Santiago Bernabeu, the European Cup was partially formed by his vision.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I think one day in the next 10, 20 years, he's not fast. He wants a stadium named after him. That's all I'm saying.
So
He wants the
They won't rename
Florentino
Bernabeu.
Perez. Maybe.
They won't rename Bernabeu.
Maybe,
Perez.
mate.
No, they better not.
so what you're saying is that part of this is because he wants to leave a legacy.
100%.
Yeah,
A narcissist.
But if he goes, this Super League idea concept will still be around, and someone else would want to
You know what?
introduce it.
He did leave a legacy. Similar to Adolf Hitler, but he did leave a legacy.
Oh, I see.
So now he'll be remembered as the evil guy. Don't worry. Sorry,
Johnny,
sorry.
you're gonna have
That's
personal-
okay. He's regardless of this Super League or not, he'll still be
If
considered
you
evil.
keep this up, man, you're gonna have personal beef with someone on the table.
Fucking
Look,
hell.
Like, come
I'm-
on,
I'm
mate.
saying
You
if-
got to calm down here.
If
Johnny.
he goes, resigns, whatever, this Super League idea will still be on the table.
Speaking
Alright.
of... okay, go.
No, I'm saying some more quotes from that article. That
Fuck, bro,
public-
you haven't had enough. I'm glad you're sitting next to him, not me. 'cause
Rich-
these guys fucking
So
eat it.
another quote from Adasi's God is:
Blasphemous, man. This guy.
"Rich clubs are losing money. Rich clubs are losing money." That's what he's saying.
Well, this
Oh,
is
Well,
what
how
he
much
said.
are they losing money?
Okay, hang on. So I read this as well. I think he said Real Madrid last whatever season it was made 900 million or something
Yep,
like that.
yep.
And then the following season they made 600 million, and then the season after that we're expected to make 400. So we've got to make back that money.
Yeah.
He blatantly said, we've got to make back that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That's it.
but
So if that doesn't indicate that it's purely financial, I don't know what is.
no, it does. And I mean, like, look, it has to be said that regardless of the amount of revenue that Real Madrid brings in, their costs are prohibitively high. A lot of players we're still paying, Gareth Bale 70 million to go play at Tottenham. So, like, I understand where he's coming from. It's like what you guys said before, though. You just might have to cut costs. You might not be able to get Mbappe next season, or the season after that, or the season after that. You might need to play as a more humble club.
Sorry.
So there's two. It's talking about money. There's two stats. One, he mentioned that last season, because of COVID, Real Madrid lost $180 million with lack of fans in the past 12 months because fans wouldn't be able to attend the stadium.
Which is probably
that is
real,
25% of the club's income.
Yep.
Now, I'm sorry, Perez, but every single club on earth has had the same problem.
They have.
Okay,
Every club's-
that's one thing. So adjust the times, not just because you're losing that you want to fuck everyone else. The other thing, you're talking about how uneven the sport is, especially in La Liga, and the money distribution. Real Madrid and Barca combined, the revenues are almost as much as the rest of La Liga.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the disparity.
That's approximately $1.5 billion.
Wow.
So if you combine both Barca and Real Madrid, it's almost
combined.
as much as the whole of the other 18 teams.
I heard it was completely combined as much as the other 18 teams.
Yeah.
It is absurd the amount of money that is coming in. Their costs are high, but it's like Fatty said, a little while ago. These big clubs are losing money because they're spending beyond their means because of that race, that bubble. In order to sign a player these days, you have to put out the extraordinary money.
I want to ask a question here.
Oh, you do?
I'm curious about this. The way Perez is, and it's always about money.
So only Adasi knows him personally.
And money's no object, and we've got to make more and all that sort of stuff. But he always wants to get the biggest player at the time, and spend on it to make sure they win and all that sort of stuff. At one stage, Real Madrid wanted Wenger. How was that going to work out? Wenger is the complete polar opposite of that.
Look,
How would that have worked out?
Well, Fatty, the idea is it probably wouldn't have.
He probably wouldn't have signed in the first place.
No, but because Perez he's a guy like many visionaries. He's got a big vision and he chases after it. And in his imagination, it probably plays out differently than reality. Wenger is a coach that has his own philosophy, his own style. He's going to want to do things his way.
Yep.
Perez probably would have interfered. It wouldn't have worked.
It's happened to a lot of coaches.
That's what I thought about. I thought that interesting that you've got them on two opposite ends of the spectrum. One's very conservative when it comes to financial, and very shrewd with his spending.
Yep.
And,
certain players that he wants.
Absolutely.
And a
then,
style
and
of
then you've
play.
got Perez who'll say, "I want Mbappe. I want this," and they got to fit.
100%,
And
and that's what happened in
in
the first Galactico era. That's what happened. I mean, you got rid of Del Bosque, you brought in Man United's assistant manager, and then you said we're going to sign David Beckham, and we're going to lose Claude Makelele. Figure it out. We put Zidane, we put Figo, you put Beckham. Figure it out.
Yeah. Lose the defensive midfield and get a right.
Well, not just Makalele. They lost the other players, and then it showed Real just couldn't keep up into the season.
Anyway, like this is getting
Yeah,
too much about
Real Madrid.
I was going to ask you though about Juventus's role in this, because look, we've seen Juventus sign Cristiano Ronaldo. They changed their club crest. There definitely some ambitious goals to try to reach the pinnacle of some of these elite clubs, right? What was it? Do you think that their motivation was here? Was it money? Was it power? Was it both? What did you see from Juventus? Why was Juventus such a pivotal role in this?
Are you asking me?
Specifically, personally.
I think what a fuckwit. I think for Juventus it was more of the way I saw it is they want to be back in with the big boys.
Yeah.
They've been out of that scene for a very long time.
Yeah.
Haven't been considered as big European players for a while now. So this was for them a step to get amongst it. They've missed out to the Spanish teams and English teams. Most of the Italian teams have for the past decade.
Yeah.
So
It sucks though.
for Juventus, that was an opportunity for them that, like you said, a rebranding, and we've got Cristiano Ronaldo and we're going to be there again and compete and do that sort of thing. So they've missed out for so long that I felt that that's what they needed to do, and financially it would have helped them too.
Of course,
So
yeah.
I feel that that's what their motive was.
They wanted to be back on top.
But isn't that scary, the fact that they won the last 9 Serie A titles and they're still not even with the
What
big
is that?
European boys?
Yeah, but what does that tell you about the league at the moment? At one time, in the 80s, in the late 80s and early 90s.
90s, even the 90s.
Yeah,
The 90s was
Serie A was golden days.
Serie A, The best players in the world were all in Serie A.
Yeah, easy.
All the best players in the world were playing in the Italian league. But
And they banked on Ronaldo's transfer to get them European glory and didn't
and,
work
they
out.
still, and because it was the quality of the football there, not because of the money.
Yeah.
But now what is it?
What I don't get is, I look at this stat about Real Madrid and Barca combined revenues.
Yeah.
If these guys are struggling for money, what's left for everyone else? If these guys need more money because they're struggling, and look how much money they're making compared to everyone else, what's left for the rest of everyone else in sport? And
I don't know.
where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
You mentioned Ed Woodward before, and this is what I want to touch on. I saw.
Do you want to touch on it, Fatty?
Yeah.
You wanna-
Touch it. I saw a fun, interesting article here. During his time in the club, Ed Woodward spent 1.8 billion
But how long was he there for?
on signings.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you the signings.
All of them? We'll be here for a while.
No, they're not that much. They're not that many.
Really?
Yeah, Pogba from Juventus, 172 million. I think this is Australian
And it's
dollars.
72.
Okay.
Okay.
Fellaini, 52 million from Everton.
Fuck. When
Okay.
Fellaini gets sold for 52 million, now you know you're a problem.
Lukaku, 137 million from Everton.
That's how much he spent on him.
Maguire, if we-
And let him go.
137 million Lukaku.
How much was he sold for? Do you know? How much did
It
he
was
put
less
by?
than that, though.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
less than that. It was,
Was
I
it
think it was about
70?
70. But then again, I think he's gone off Australian dollars. And
It is Australian
that 70
dollars.
figure was also
Okay,
in euro,
half
so
it.
it's a bit
Half it.
confusing.
they spent a lot of Harry
Let's
Maguire.
half it. Let's half it, okay? Di Maria, 108. So let's call it 54
Yeah,
million.
yeah, yeah.
Let's call it a failure. Yeah.
Okay. Harry Maguire, 144 million.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's call
80.
that 70 odd.
Yeah, it was about 80.
About
Yeah,
80
yeah.
mark, yeah.
Sanchez from Arsenal, 56 million.
Best
Alright,
performance
yeah,
of him
yeah.
was on the piano.
Yeah. And fucking hey,
Best performance for Sanchez in Man United shirt was on the piano. You know, his presentation.
Wow.
You stop adding his
what's
flow,
his name?
Adasi. What are you doing, mate?
what's his name? Fucking man, I forget his name now.
Adasi.
Depay,
Ajax. From Ajax.
Danny
Right.
Daly Blind,
No, Van der Beek.
Van
Yeah.
der Beek.
72 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
How long,
the-
was Woodward at the club for?
all these signings are only back from 2015.
Okay, but
Which
is there a point?
Di
Is there a
Maria.
point
Di
to
Maria
this
was the
shopping
earliest
list?
signing. Huh?
Is there a
Yeah.
point here?
All that money, what the fuck have they done?
Europa Leagues and
So Man City have spent
Losing to Sevilla.
ridiculous money, but they've won the league.
Yeah.
United hasn't done shit since Ferguson left.
yeah.
Nothing.
No, 100%.
On the Friday, Laporte, Barcelona's president, came out and says the Super League is a necessity.
Necessity.
Yeah,
The
that's
big clubs need more resources. If the big clubs don't have a better financial position, football is the one that suffers.
Look, what I'm puzzled
Football
with,
suffers.
what I'm really puzzled
Not their
about
bottom line.
is that people like Perez and Laporte, we've talked about the football pyramid, economically, and how the Super League was supposed to help the smaller clubs. I still don't know how. I still don't know where it would have.
that's what I want to
Is that what they
understand.
said?
Yeah, he said it would.
That's
it
what
would
I'm
help, it would
curious to
save
see.
football,
How is
it
going to
would
save
save-
football? I want to see it.
Well, what are they going to do? Give them donations?
Oh,
I don't get
Oh,
it.
no, you know what I heard, and I mean, I think this is just the theory from some commentators, was the idea that what would happen is that you would end up absorbing a lot of these smaller clubs into these mega conglomerate-sized clubs, and they would be like feeder clubs, kind of like how the NBA has the D League. So you would have Real Madrid would have like Real Sociedad and Villarreal would be like their smaller clubs that would be like feeder clubs for them, and then they would be reliant on Real Madrid's money.
So what's the point?
Could be
How
a way of putting
boring.
That's an elite mentality.
Well, it's not just it's a controlling mentality.
like-
It's a ridiculous
Consolidating.
mentality.
It's
It's
funny,
crazy.
Consolidating.
it's funny when they say that, like, if we don't get this, football's going to suffer, so everyone's going to suffer. It sounds like fucking, if you don't get the COVID vaccine, we're all going to die, so you all got to take it. So it's that fear mongering, let's scare everyone.
To get
That
people to
this is
sign
how-
on
Buying into this idea.
Yeah, you have to buy into the
that's
idea.
way of getting people to sign on board with this shindig.
What,
This
COVID
shindig, eh?
vaccine?
No, the Perez.
Oh,
I'm saying.
okay.
The
I was-
super,
I was
the
just
super duper league.
Let's just call it the Perez League.
Any last thoughts on this?
Well, I did want to say sorry, Darcy. Man.
No, you're right.
Look, I did want to say though, because like you did touch upon the idea that this could be negotiation tactics. UEFA have now put an extra $3 billion of investment into the Champions League. So is this all worth it for clubs now?
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think they envisioned how much the reputation will be hurt.
Yeah, no,
of
exactly.
each club.
It remains to be seen. We don't know now because people. I mean, it come out that we saved it and whatever. People feel like they did something. The clubs probably think that it was a good leverage or bargaining tool, but if it worked this time, could work again next time. Every time we need something.
They put UEFA into UEFA $7 billion into the Champions League, which would go. That money would go to participants. It would go to winners. It would go to how far you go into the competition. Look, it's a funny one. I brought up a few months ago, a little while ago, transfer caps, man, salary caps.
I don't recall that.
What?
I don't remember.
You remember it, Fatty.
I don't remember shit. It's in one ear, out the other.
I just think this is going to be
side of the table.
This is going to be only the beginning. Like, this is just the start of the Super League talk, and there's going to probably be court battles, unfortunately, and court cases, and binding contracts.
Again.
Oh, 100%. It's not the end of it.
Binding contracts. Pay up this, pay that, and this is just the start. So
because apparently the 12 clubs signed. So
it's an ego thing now. So it's going to be okay. Let's regroup and think it out. And next time, when it comes out, it's going to be a proper, measured campaign. Adasi is going to get the right people in his ear to tell him what to say. He's not going to fucking talk bullshit.
I'm not into PR, man.
So it's going to be.
You've done a pretty good job now, mate.
He's more into HR.
It's gonna be a measured, well calculated campaign because I think that they realize we can't fuck up again and cop the wrath of everyone, because the next time it happens, FIFA's not gonna say, we're just threatening you to do this. It's gonna be like, well, that's it. Something's gotta give.
Do you think? Prediction. Do you think Perez will stay at the role?
My prediction. I think he will. He's got a way of surviving, and to be honest, and Adasi, tell me. Real Madrid fans, the socios, they weren't that offended or enraged by this as much as the Premier League fans were.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't see any protests outside the Bernabeu.
I saw a little the other day.
Training ground. There wasn't that much backlash as much as the English clubs, that's for sure.
That's for sure. And even the Italian clubs didn't, while they didn't react as bad as the Premier League, they reacted much more than Real Madrid's fans. So
I didn't see any much Italian reaction. The most reaction was we need the money.
I'm sorry, can I hear that accent again, Fatty? It was beautiful.
That was a Neapolitan accent.
Oh, was it?
Apparently one pizza slice was thrown into the floor in protest.
No, AC Milan fans apparently protested a little, but talking about Real Madrid fans, there wasn't that much. So I reckon Perez will be able to survive this.
Yeah, look, he's a fighter. He's been through a lot. Not been through a lot.
He's a fighter. He's been through a lot. He's had a tough ride. He came from nowhere.
Started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
He's very insistent that this thing's going to go ahead. So, I'm curious to see how these next weeks,
so you wish him luck.
Months go ahead. But we're sitting back and
you wish him the best.
We're curious spectators. We're all curious spectators.
You hope he recovers and his body language gets better?
I hope he says better things than bloody 40% of people or 20 or shortening games from 90 minutes. Jeez, come on, man.
Anyway.
Wow.
Anyway. All
right. On behalf of Fatty, Akram.
Well, on behalf of me. Don't speak on my behalf. Fuck you, Perez.
Yeah. Perez is number one fan. Thanks for watching today, guys. Akram, your last words.
Guys, please like this video. Subscribe if you've not subscribed already, and please let us know what your feelings and thoughts are about the ESL. Were you for it, like Adasi, or
for it?
Were you against it, and why? We're really growing, we're really enjoying it. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Please join us.
Every time it says ESL, I think it's talking about me.
I swear to God, I was just going to say the same thing.
What?
You know what? I was reading articles and it said ESL, and I had to think, what the fuck what's that acronym? Because ESL,
English
second language,
straight away. Every time you say ESL, I just fucking think of this guy.
Oh, I love it.
How was ESL?
Yes.
Offensive.
I didn't understand it for 3 years.
All right. While Adasi sends flowers to Perez's house, we'll get going.
Ball of paella.
See you guys. Next time.